Hello, I'm Sarah Wheatley. I thought I would just pop on quickly and tell you a wee bit about the language of babies, because I think that quite often some babies are quite difficult to understand, or sometimes we don't realise that actually babies' behaviour is their language. And we often think about sort of babies having sort of one kind of language, which is crying, but actually babies have a whole range of behaviours that they can use to let us know a bit about what they're trying to communicate. So I was thinking that it can be really helpful to know that from birth, many babies can use all of their senses, that they can visually track objects or faces, they can hear or locate sounds, so you might notice that they turn their heads, they can habituate to light and sound, which is, or some babies can, like any other person. Sort of, some babies find it easier to habituate to sounds and light. Um, Babies can often recognise the mother and sometimes the father's voice and the mother's smell. And actually, one of the things that's really lovely to know is that voices are one of the sounds that aren't distorted in utero, which is why your baby will recognise your voice. Babies can discriminate the mother's face from that of a stranger and recognise emotional expressions. And you might notice that your baby will look significantly more at a face with a direct gaze than at a face with an averted gaze. That's not always true, we're all different, but sometimes that's true. And it can be helpful to know what babies are trying to do. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to make meaning of the world. They're trying to learn about emotional states, their own ones and others' emotional states. And they do that through learning through relationships. They're basically trying to understand what's going on in others' minds, and they do that by learning about the familiar people around them. And they're also learning to self-regulate, which helps them grow physically and also emotionally. And I know we've talked about sort of babies crying, but actually babies have six main states. Number one is deep sleep, two is light sleep, three is the sort of drowsy state where sort of you might notice their eyelids sort of flickering. State four is sort of the quiet, alert state, and that is actually generally the best time to play or feed or do anything like that. They're sort of receptive and open to stuff. State five is active alert, which is sometimes people think fussy or whatever. It's that slightly sort of angsty sort of state where you know it could just tip. And say state six is crying, sort of full on crying. And actually, you hope that babies can use all of those states, because they're all useful and they all communicate something about what is going on for the baby. And hopefully, if the baby is sort of able to regulate well, they'll move up and down through those states sort of without too great a jump. So anyway, sleep, the big S word. Babies are generally born with the ability to protect their sleep states. Obviously, that depends on sort of whether the baby's full term and how healthy they are and the rest of it. But the reason they try and protect their sleep is because being able to get into a deep sleep helps them grow, and they're trying to grow. And the growth hormones are released in state one in deep sleep. And so when they are able to sort of habituate to light and sound in order to let them sink into a deep sleep state, that enables them to grow. And they, in state two, in REM state, they have increased brain activity, which is a lot to do with memory. Premature babies are predominantly in state two, and it might take them a while until they're able to sort of more fully get into state one, into deep sleep. And sleep tends to progress in cycles, so from drowsy to state two to sort of REM to state three, deep sleep. So 3-2-1, 3-2-1. And stress. Babies can show that they are stressed and need extra support through various different behaviours, and that includes spit up and vomiting, wind and bowel movements, trembling, colour changes and mottling, yawns, sneezes, hiccups, which can often be a sign of overstimulation, averting their gaze or looking away, or moving to a lower state, i.e. moving from deep sleep to light sleep. And it might seem a bit surprising to think of these things as being a form of communication, but actually babies, when you do something, like if you sort of clap, actually it can activate, it can actually affect a newborn baby's vision. Like all these parts are sort of intricately connected. Their body hasn't sort of been separated out enough yet. And also, some babies are born with the ability to self-soothe, and you might notice that in your baby, that they might like holding their hands to their chest, or they like having their hands near their face, or they might like sucking their hands or their fingers. And so some babies already have that quite helpfully. Anyway, I've talked enough. I can talk about this for quite a long time. But anyway, there's a really good film called Connected Baby by a researcher called Suzanne Zeedyk. And that is a brilliant film because it shows just how intentional babies' behaviour is. And I would sort of recommend checking that out because it is well worth a look. And if you're worried about your baby's behaviour or lack of behaviour, then please do feel free to get in touch, and I will try and answer your questions if I can. Okay, take care. Bye.